Hey guys, welcome back to another Guilty as Charged YouTube channel video. So, I did a video a couple months ago, I think it was in November, talking about the Chargers in the draft. And I talked about the top five most likely picks at number five at that time. Uh, Big change in the draft, though, because the Chargers did reel off four straight wins at the end of the season and fell to number 13. Now, that disappoints a lot of fans, but I don't think it's really a big deal. I think you can still get a big contributor for this team with the 13th pick. It may not be Jamar Chase, it may not be Devonta Smith, but part of the problem with the Chargers being at the fourth or fifth pick anyway was the fact that none of the pieces really fit there, right? Because they were out of range for Penei Sewell, and they didn't really need a receiver, right? So unless you really wanted to make a big play there for something, it just didn't make sense, right? Unless you wanted to overdraft Rashawn Slater in that range, right? So I think the Chargers are in a decent position still at 13. So what I want to do today is go through five or six of the guys that I think they could realistically take with the 13th pick. So to do this, I'm going to do kind of a mock draft thing here on the mock draft machine on the draft network. So let's do that. I'm going to refresh so we can just get a fresh, clean draft. I'm sure that when I try to do this, what will happen is the draft will be all wanky and some team will take Trevor Lawrence at 6. I don't know. I'm going to try to do this as best I can. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence goes number 1, Jamar Chase goes 2, Micah Parsons goes 3. Okay. Zach Wilson 4, Sewell 5, Smith, Waddle, bunch of other guys. Okay. So this is how it ended up playing out. So yeah, I mean, you kind of have a lot of obvious guys here. So yeah, we have Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, Zach Wilson as the quarterbacks. Justin Fields goes as well. Trey Lance does not go, so that I think leaves us at 3 quarterbacks taken, right? In Lawrence, Wilson, and Justin Fields. So I think this is a debate you can have. There may be 3 or 4 quarterbacks, depending on how teams view Trey Lance. Personally, I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos took him or the Niners, but he may not go in that top 12, right? So then you would have just 3 quarterbacks in the ones we've mentioned. A lot of people have Wilson over Fields, which I don't have, but that's been an increasing take in the last couple days. So Wilson draft stock has definitely shot up. So let's talk about the guys who won't be on the board for the Chargers at 13. I want to get that out of the way first, and unfortunately kill some fan dreams here. Penei Sewell, not going to be on the board at 13. I think that's pretty obvious. Micah Parsons, I don't think he will be on the board at 13 if they wanted to go linebacker. None of the quarterbacks that I just mentioned, obviously. Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, get them out of your brain. Then not happening. I think all of those guys are going to be at least top 12 stud receivers. I don't think any of them make it to the Chargers. And I know some teams want to go, some fans want to go receiver in the first round, and I think I talked about in the last video. If they had the 4th or 5th pick, I think that might be what you do. But at 13, the value is just not there, right? Then quarterbacks, we have Patrick Surtain going off in this one. Caleb Farley, though, is still on the board, as you'll see here, the cornerback from Virginia Tech. He is kind of a comp to Jimmy Smith in a lot of ways, has a lot of speed. I don't know if he totally fits what Staley wants to do well, which is kind of like a 3-4 scheme. I don't know if he totally fits it, but because he's kind of a press and man coverage guy. I don't know if he's going to do what Staley wants to do, which is a lot of different looks, a lot of different coverages. But it might, But to me, I don't. Right, the Niners take Alijah Vera-Tucker here. I don't think he's going to go in the top 12. So I don't know. I think Farley's going to go in the top 12 before the Chargers get there. So I think Farley and Surtain are personally going to be off the board. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Farley made it to 13. I would be shocked if Surtain did. I think personally, I know Steven, has a lot of love for for his guy, the South Carolina corner, Jaycee Horn. He's got a lot of love for him. But personally, I think Patrick Surtain is the best corner in this class. So I don't think he's going to be on the board at 13. So Caleb Farley is a possibility. I don't think he's going to be there, though. So when we look at the guys who are realistically going to be there at 13 for the Chargers, barring, any injuries or any, players wearing a bong mask, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and draft day. I think the first guy that you're looking at is Rashawn Slater, who is the big offensive tackle from Northwestern. He obviously opted out of this year due to COVID and the draft. And I think he's kind of going to be, obviously, a lot of people have different projections for him. He could switch to the interior. He could also play outside, obviously. A lot of people talk about him like he's built for sort of a heavy running game. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think he can succeed really with anything in the pros. Some people have even said he's the best tackle in this class, like Daniel Jeremiah, who I think ranked him above Penei Sewell. I don't quite agree with that. Penei Sewell is, the personification of if you built an offensive lineman in a lab, that is how you would want it to be, want him to be, right? So I don't think Slater is the best tackle in this class. I know some people do, but I think he's clearly the second best tackle, right? But I defer on all offensive linemen to Steven. He is the king of the offensive linemen. He played the position, and I defer on all rankings to him when it comes to them. The other two offensive linemen I can see are Samuel Cosmi and Christian Daraso. Daraso is the guy that a lot of people have mocked to the Chargers. He's really good. He played himself into the starting role for sure. Has potential to upside to be starting left tackle. I think he would work mostly in like a zone scheme, so I don't know if he would totally work for the Chargers. Really depends on what Staley wants to do offensively. But I think really at this point, the Chargers are just looking for any offensive tackle that can help them out. And I think you have Cosmi, Slater, and Daraso as definite possibilities. Now, the weird thing in this draft will be, do draft stocks go up and down as much, right? Because the way that I think about it is we don't really know because there's no combine and we'll see pro days, but we don't really know guys going up and down. There have been some weird guys going up and down. Like when I did the draft 2 months ago, and I did like the top 5 guys at number 5, Gregory Rousseau was a bona fide top 10 pick, and now a lot of people have dropped Gregory Rousseau to like the 26th best prospect on mock draft now, which I don't totally agree with, but that's kind of a product of the COVID opt-out year with the fact that he's not the most refined talent. But I think you'll see a lot of movement, right? So in terms of the offensive linemen for the Chargers in the first round, I think it boils down to Cosmi, Slater, and Daraso. Other options for them, if they wanted to go interior linemen, Wyatt Davis is obviously going to be available for them, and I'm sure that will generate some discussion. Obviously, he got hurt in the championship game, but it doesn't look to be anything too serious. So I think Wyatt Davis is a decent pick if they wanted to go in that way, but there might be a way where they can grab Slater in the first round and then maybe trade up in the second round to secure Wyatt Davis. Really depends on how the draft shakes out, though. If you really think Wyatt Davis is your guy, I think you take him in the first round as an interior offensive lineman. But it really depends on what the Chargers want to do there. So I think in terms of the offensive lineman, that's what you're looking at. Liam Eichenberg is an interesting offensive tackle, as well as Alex Leatherwood, whose draft stock has gone up since I last made the last draft video. I think Leatherwood may project as more of an inside guy, but Eichenberg could fit what the Chargers want to do. He's a starting left tackle from day one, right? Like, whereas some of the guys range in terms of how ready they are from the league on day one. So those are really all offensive tackle, offensive lineman prospects in general that I think would work for the Chargers at that pick. Let's talk about non-offensive linemen, though, because there always is a chance that the Chargers don't take an offensive lineman in the first round. Telesco certainly has not always done that in his tenure here. Caleb Farley is the guy that if he's on the board, I think the Chargers might think about. But as I said before, because he's not really like a dynamic corner and he does play really just man and press coverages, or at least he did at Virginia Tech. You know, they can always develop him into something different in the NFL. But because he only really worked in those two looks at Virginia Tech, I don't know if they would go for him. Other guys, Joseph Asai is an interesting one. He is an edge from Texas. Very good. He is a 3-4 outside linebacker, which because Staley is switching to the 3-4, and because he's got a lot of natural athleticism, can drop back in coverage, he may really fit what Staley wants to do. Now, I don't know if his technique is super great. He's definitely a little bit raw in pass coverage, which might, scare off someone like Staley and Telesco. But I think he's definitely a guy that, say they get Leonard Floyd, you might get Joseph Asai as the guy to kind of be his backup and eventually develop him into the starter. But, you may not want to do that in the first round, though, if that's your plan, to get an outside linebacker or an edge that develops into an eventual, like, Leonard Floyd or whoever is going to be the starting linebacker replacement, right? So that's just kind of my thought there. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, no, they're not taking a running back in the first round, and if they do, I will personally hunt down Tom Telesco for sure. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. He's got some explosiveness to him. I just don't see the Chargers going straight up back-to-back linebackers in the rounds, and I think they're kind of fine with their depth there anyway. I think you take a mid-round linebacker if it's possible, but I don't think they're going to go for Koramoah. Jaycee Horn, Steven's favorite guy. This is Steven's cornerback 1 in the draft. I think this is a possibility. Jaycee Horn has definitely shot up draft boards compared to where he was previously. He is a starting outside corner that does have some familiarity with zone and does have some minimal use in off-man coverage, which is a lot of the stuff that Staley wants to do. So Horn could be possible. A lot of people have asked, does Staley being signed mean that it'll be like a corner or a defensive player in the first round? It's possible. And I think if you're looking for one defensive player, it's probably Jaycee Horn is the most likely non-offensive lineman pick there, other than Caleb Farley. I think that he fits a lot of what Staley would want to do. So they could go in that direction, but it also depends on Surtain and some of the other guys if they fall down or up or down the board, right? Gregory Rousseau is another option for them. He's fallen to around the 20s in the draft, and I think a lot of that has to do, again, as I said, with the COVID opt-out year. I still like Gregory Rousseau a lot, but he is raw. I mean, his technique isn't all quite there, but he does have freakish size, freakish athleticism. A lot of people think you can just kind of plug him in and he would work, right? So, I don't know if I'm going for him at pick 13, but I think, you can justify him as the top 10 selection. I think just based on his kind of physical attributes and what he brings to the edge. And he does have some possibilities in terms of dropping back into pass coverage a little bit. I think he's kind of raw there, but Miami did use him and Quincy Roche and some of those guys is occasionally doing that, but not very often. So I think those are really the first round guys. So to recap, I kind of rambled on a little bit there. Caleb Farley, definitely a first round possibility if he falls to that range. I should also talk about, who are the guys that I think may slip to the Chargers here. Kyle Pitts is a possibility, but I don't think they should take Kyle Pitts. I like him a lot and think he should get a lot of credit for his blocking, But if they're re-signing Hunter Henry, it doesn't make any sense to go tight end first round. Unfortunately, Kyle Pitts is a great talent. There's no other guys that I think can fall to number 13, barring something crazy happening. A la Laramie Tunsil. So I think these are really the guys the Chargers will have the chance to look at. Farley is one of my favorite corners, but I'm not totally sure he fits the scheme. I would be fine with either Cosmi, Slater, or Daraso. I think Slater is kind of my tackle 2. Daraso my tackle 3 if I had to rank it. But again, I haven't watched as much tackle footage as Steven has. Joseph Asai is an edge possibility because he kind of works as that 3-4 outside linebacker that Staley likes to use, but I don't know how that kind of works with the Leonard Floyd rumors, and then, the potential for the Chargers to get any other free agent to replace Melvin Ingram, who we're kind of assuming is gone, but we don't know. They're not taking Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, and I swear to God, if I see one of you in the comments mention that, I'm going to hunt you down. But Jaycee Horn, I think, is probably the biggest non-offensive lineman possibility in the first round, just because of how he could fit in the defensive scheme and how he plays off ball. I think that, I don't personally rank him as my favorite corner in the draft. Steven does. But I think there is a lot of upside to Jaycee Horn. So, I think those guys and Wyatt Davis are really the first round possibilities for the Chargers, in addition to maybe Leatherwood and Liam Eichenberg. But let me know in the comments down below. Who do you think the Chargers will take in the first round? Who do you want them to take in the first round? Tell me why I'm wrong and why Devonta Smith will fall to 13. I don't know. I hope one of those cool guys falls, but I think these are the guys that the Chargers are really going to be looking at. So hit that bell down there and subscribe to the channel if you want more Chargers content. We love putting it out for you guys. Peace.